For many years, there has been a worldwide push to standardise the names of parrot mutation names, and Avian Genetic Calculator uses these standard genetic names wherever possible. The reason for using these standardised names is that many old colloquial names are very confusing from a genetic viewpoint, with many names being duplicated or blatantly incorrect. Names such as cinnamon and silver, for example, have been grossly misused in many species. Even though Avian Genetic Calculator uses standard genetic names to describe varieties, the program has a help system built in which gives some information about the conversion between many of the old names with the standard names. For example, if we look at Indian ringnecks, we can bring up the Help Information Index by pressing the Help button. If I double-click on Suffused, it takes me to the dilute variety help page. This tells me some information about the variety, and towards the end of the page, it also mentions some alternate names for dilute as being suffused or citron. If I was to click on pallid, it takes me to the sex-linked varieties help page. And again, towards the bottom of the page, it will tell me that alternative names for pallid are also lime and lacewing. These particular name conversions relate only to Indian ringnecks. In other species, the name conversions may be different, which is exactly why the old names are so confusing. Another simple name which is often misunderstood in many species is the common grey-green. Generally speaking, grey-green is not a base colour in its own right. It is a combination of the wild green coloured bird and grey factor. In many species, there are actually many genetically different types of grey-green, nearly all of which look the same. Let's look at the budgerigar, for example. We'll close this help file down. Click on the budgerigar window, which I had open. The wild budgerigar is a light green. To get a grey-green, we have to add the grey factor to it. So I'll do this for the male bird. On the list here, in budgerigars, it's actually called the Australian dominant grey. It's just called grey for short. On the list, we have single factor greys or double factor greys. The most common one is usually the single factor, so we'll select that and change the name. So the name of the bird in the program now reads light green Australian grey single factor. That is one type of grey-green, the most common one, but there are others. So if we go back to our green and blue menu again, I could pick, say, dark green and select that instead. Now the description of the bird reads dark green Australian grey single factor. That is also one type of grey-green. Similarly, if we go back and change it again to something else, let's pick sky blue. Done. The description now reads sky blue Australian grey single factor. That again, that is one type of grey. Again, it's the most common one. This is a very similar situation with all parrot species. It is just the colour names that are very slightly different from species to species. In general, grey-greens are a base colour green with grey added, and greys are a blue base coloured bird with grey added. The main exception to this rule are those species where the wild bird is already grey. A similar situation occurs with violet names. Visual violets are blue-based birds with a violet factor added. In some species, the further addition of dark factor is required to get a visual violet. Green base coloured birds can also have violet factor added to them. So if you are looking for a particular old variety name that you cannot see on the menus, then look through the help system and it will probably mention a name conversion to a standard name which is in the menus.